Hey, welcome to episode 96 of The Brewgooders, the League of Beer and Comics. I'm Jeff. To my right is Colin.
Hello.
Leonardo Maxwell. Cowabunga did.
Cowabunga.
Was Leonardo your favourite turtle?
Leonardo's my favourite turtle, yeah.
So it's not your second name.
Leonardo is my favourite Renaissance painter.
Name two more.
Renaissance
Michelangelo.
painter.
Well, Michelangelo, Raphael, and Donatello.
Okay, Jesus.
Okay. Were they all painters? Were they all painters?
Yes, they were all painters. Michelangelo was also.
Some of them were sculptors.
Some of them were sculptors as well, yeah. Michelangelo was also a sculptor.
Awesome. So just stalling to get the numbers up a wee bit. Directly below me, we've got Andrew. And to my diagonal right, we've got Dave, Glass City Comics man himself. It was nice to see everybody. Please, I'll put the banners up and stuff. Please just drop us a wee like and share and all that sort of stuff, because otherwise I have to do it. Right, so we've got a really busy night ahead. We've got obviously our beer and comics chat, but we've also got an interview with the co-creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Kevin Eastman, which was absolutely amazing to have Kevin speak to us last week. And before we go, I'm humming and hawing because I wanted to read something. I did read it to Colin and David before we went to air, and Andrew says he would back up anything I said. So here we go. In the Brewgooders, we believe and stand for equality. We want everyone to have a voice and feel that they can use that voice. We believe in critical discussion. We believe in change, and we promote informed choice. We believe that nobody should be made to feel like they can't use their voice, and we stand with those with the bravery to speak up against injustice, to support those who don't have that voice, but would like to be spoken up for. We have welcomed guests in the past on our show who are members of the LGBTQI plus community. We have welcomed guests who fight for gender inequality in comics and in the brewing industry, and we have welcomed guests who have spoken out and stood on the streets against social inequality. Last week, we were the target on Twitter by someone who doesn't value humans or equality in the same way we do. I can sit here quite proudly and say that I'm a member of a support network of 4 people. I always feel backed up by my co-hosts. They are my support network, and I feel it's only right that we should speak up and respect any minority group that doesn't feel supported or doesn't have a similar network. Spewing hatred against a small minority group is never okay. These people are bullies. Brewgooders stand up against bullies. So if you're a bully, you're not a brewgooder, basically. And you're not welcome on our podcast, Derek. And that's us.
Well done.
Here.
Yeah, cheers. Drink to that.
What are we drinking? What's everyone drinking?
Who's starting?
You can start, Andrew, and we'll go anti-clockwise.
Colin's already got his up at the screen.
You start with Colin and go clockwise then.
Either way, I'm saying.
Okay, so today I've got a Brewdog Mallow Laser Quest, which was picked up at my local Tesco. What a shame, Brewdog sales down over lockdown. But it might be down to their working practices as well. Let's not be too controversial about that. Let's drink it and see what it's like.
That's not controversial, is it?
But it lives up to its name, Mallow Laser Quest. It's marshmallow and pineapple. It's a hazy IPA. That's what it looks like. So, lovely colour. Smells pineapple, not getting much marshmallow. But see when you take a sip of it, marshmallow, pineapple, it's like ice cream. It's lovely. Oh, superb. 6%, I think.
I'm seeing a lot of these fruity and marshmallowy things popping up. I get a box beer, and I'm seeing a lot of, and I've got a couple thinking about, but a lot of stouts floating about that are like peanut butter, chocolate, and stuff like that. So I had one at the weekend which was marshmallow and chocolate, and I'll be honest, it was too sweet for me. It felt like I was, like chocolate milk or something like that. Like a slightly smoky coffee chocolate milk. And to my enduring shame, I didn't finish the beer. It was just too sweet for my palate. So
what the?
I know. I've got some. I'm actually going to hand them out. Next time we see you guys, I'm going to give them give them you've maybe got slightly sweeter teeth than me.
I love them. I love a marshmallow as it sounds really silly, right? But I love marshmallow as a beer, as an entrance to beer. Obviously, the 10-Year Rebel one always comes to mind. The smoked marshmallow porter is.
I don't mind like see a fruity IPA. I love a fruity IPA. Any hazy IPA that's got pineapple or mango or anything like that in it, yeah, absolutely, I'm there all day of the week. I don't think I'm not a massive chocolatey coffee fan, so possibly that's when the porters come a wee bit sweet. I like a porter, I like a stout, but I like it to be really middle of the road, not too smoky, not too coffee, and not too sweet. Middle of the road for me.
Fair enough, man.
But
I've tried. I've just not get into any sweet beer at all. I've looked at it and I've thought about buying it. I don't know what it is. I think a beer should be, like a beer and not like a fruit drink. I'm not into cocktails either, but it's very popular. My mates all drink them. They love them. They swear by is it the orange? What's the orange one?
Oh,
the Brewdog.
Clockwork Orange.
Clockwork Orange. The Brewdog one.
Aye, they love that. I don't know, man. I've just, I've not tried it, so I can't say, it's good or it's bad or whatever. I've just not tried it.
I used to laugh at people who drank like, these, what did they call them, Alco Pops. Like it was always that for me when you were growing up. A lot of the kids, if they were drinking, what was it? They used to have ones that were all different fruits. They were, you got watermelon ones and orange ones, and what were they called?
MD. Or
MD.
Well, MD's crazy. That's like 40% stuff. Mad Dog. No, these were like they came in single wee bottles, and
Bacardi Breezers.
Like wicked Breezers. That was the very chap. Bacardi Breezers.
I didn't think that's what Breezers. I used to like this drink where you would get a Bacardi Breezer, an orange Breezer, a blue Wicked, and a Smirnoff Ice, and you mix them together and it smells like Skittles.
No, Skittles, sorry.
Yeah, Skittles. That's good.
I found out when I was very young, that Bacardi Breezers, particularly the watermelon ones, Bacardi Breezers taste the same coming up if you've drunk too many of them as they do going in. It is the most refreshing puke you would ever have. I haven't been sick with beer for a very long time. Was that?
That really shouldn't be a selling point, though.
It shouldn't be, no. It's just like it doesn't have that horrible taste.
Only in Scotland would you get a comment like
that.
Glenn Thompson said Hooch. I remember when Hooch came out.
I remember when Hooch came out.
But
that was the first one, wasn't it? That was the.
It was like total tabloid, wasn't it? Like when Hooch came out, people were going totally mental about it because they were like, this is really dangerous that you would be selling alcohol that tastes like juice.
Did you see what I remember hearing about it was you're selling alcohol that looks like juice, so therefore kids are buying it, and it's like, well stop, kids shouldn't be buying it because the people selling it shouldn't be allowed, shouldn't be selling it to them. That's what the argument was. He's kind of like, whoa.
I think in Scotland as well, Hooch was like a lemonade, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And people immediately started having it like lager and Hooch, and we'll just have like a really lethal shandy. It's like you
had to. I work in a bar, and you weren't allowed to do that kind of stuff because it was just mad.
Aye, they outlawed snake bites as well, didn't they?
In the 90s, was I a student in the 90s? I was never a student actually, but I think I was more. Late 90s. My mates were students.
I was a student union early 90s boy, going to student unions in Edinburgh. Like 99p pints and stuff like that on a Wednesday in Edinburgh.
Does anyone remember the Temple in Glasgow? 50 pence vodka mix.
Oh,
my God, man.
I've been to Edinburgh. We used to go to a place.
The Shack. It was the Shack and then the Temple.
We had a place in Edinburgh called, it was the Shag Club or Catch or the Mission, depending on which night you meant. And it was on
Trader Vic's. Was it Studio 24?
Yeah, it was Trader Vic's on one of the streets off the Grass Market. Yeah. And I went on there one night and they did a thing where you didn't have to buy your drinks. You paid money to get in and all drinks were free once you got in there. And it was like £12 to get in, but I thought, we'll be there for 4 hours. They must have seriously watered down that lager because I think I had about 10 pints yet, and I was like,
there was a place in Dunfermline that used to do the same, and they gave you a cup on your way in.
Same cup all night.
Yeah, use the same cup for the rest of the night.
Oh man, that's just rank.
Right. Hey, what are you drinking, Dave?
Okay, well, I ran into Scott Mid, as I kind of normally do. Actually, it was a co-op today, and I picked up a few beers. These shelves are particularly bare right now. Has anyone noticed that? I mean, obviously everyone's noticed that.
Yeah,
Well,
everything.
Gaps in the shelf with the sun, I think.
I mean, it's just completely empty. So I picked up a few ones that I've not really tried. I've tried ones of it. So I just polished off there an old Jock, which
Nice.
is really good actually. That's nice. Anyone tried this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Really nice, 6.7%. It went down an absolute treat. And now I've just opened up a old Crafty Hen, which is not the same as Speckled Hen, but it's obviously from the same
brewery.
So I've not actually tried this, so it smells lovely.
Smells nice.
Looks lovely.
I also picked up some at the co-op, which again, they're quite empty. And the politicians would have you believe this is because of pinging or something like that.
Nah.
But the people who are in the things, it's down to Brexit. Everybody knows it's down to Brexit.
Brexit.
So I've got the younger brother of the old. I've got the old Speckled Hen.
I used to drink a lot of old Speckled Hen. They're nice.
With an Ocean in reserve, ready for if I finish that one, and a Champion as well.
I've also got a few in here as well, just chilling. I've got an old Empire IPA, which I've had before, which is really nice. I really went for strong beers. Lisa's going to hate me later on tonight. And a White Stable Bay Pale Ale, which looks.
I know we talk about this all the time, but it's brilliant that you can go into your corner shop these days and not just have. When I was growing up, it would have been special or heavy or lager would have been your options at your local shop. You know, not even Guinness.
Sweetheart Stout.
Sweetheart Stout would have been there, definitely, and half bottles of Grant's whiskey.
I was in Glasgow.
It was a mining community.
I can't believe that you could get. Yeah, I was going to say that's a miners thing, isn't it? I was in Glasgow over the weekend, and it was amazing that most bars have an IPA on tap as well. Now I wasn't expecting that at all.
Right. That's been kind of staple for a while, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
You need an IPA. IPA is really popular. All the cool crafty kids are drinking it. Yeah, to be honest, actually, I tend to find that kids aren't drinking as much. If you're under the 25 age bracket, maybe a wee bit, maybe 27 and below, you're drinking way less than what. Certainly, when I was a kid, when I was that age, what they're drinking.
You can't afford it. I couldn't believe how expensive it was.
Well, that is true. I also think it's got something to do with social media, though. I think they're too scared to let their hair down because all these things are documented, and they're there for life, kind of thing.
Yeah, totally.
That's a big part of it. Everyone's quite self-conscious and they're worried and they're always trying to look.
If my watermelon breezer puke was on Facebook somewhere as a video, then definitely.
It was just interesting. I'm not saying like you're going there and there's like all the places I went to, there was at least one sort of crafty beer on tap, and I'm not saying it was like something really exotic. It was just like, for example, I was in a place and it was Camden Town's. It was a Camden Town brewery IPA, and it was lovely. It was totally lovely. I just hadn't ever seen it on tap, and I was like, "Oh, have you got that?" I asked the barmaid if they had an IPA, and she was like, "Yeah, that Camden Town." I was like, "Oh, brilliant! It's just cool." Were you drinking? You're drinking Old Speckled Hen just now, Andrew?
I am. I absolutely am. You'd forgotten that we're round to you now, didn't you?
Are we? I'm drinking an old favourite of the podcast.
Finnerby. That's just made a couple of miles over the road from me here.
Yeah, you can walk there from where you are. It's amazing. Probably it was our beer of the year the first year we were a podcast because me and Colin both loved it. It's also amazing on pint. We went to a beer festival quite early on and they were selling it on tap at this beer festival. It was just good. It's just a nice beer. Session IPA, 4.4%. It's got mango and passion fruit on the nose, and it's just really smooth and really delicious. And I was in a shop a couple of weeks ago, and I saw it on the shelf, and I was like, "Okay,
nice."
Yeah, that's our beer. Well, I put our interview on so we can just enjoy our beers, and it's only like 10 minutes long. I really want to thank Kevin Eastman for offering me a space on one of his press days. I believe I was one interview and quite along in the day. I think it's about 4 p.m. by the time he's with me, so he's probably been doing interviews for about 8 hours by this point. So I totally respected that he sat and chatted to me, and he even gave me enough time to squeeze in an extra question at the end, which was lovely. So our guest interview this week is Kevin Eastman, who will let us speak. But in the unlikely event you don't know, this week's guest is Kevin Eastman, who is a comic book artist and a writer best known for being one of the co-creators on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with Peter Laird. So I'm just absolutely like gobsmacked that you're here. How are you?
Thank you. No, honestly, it's super awesome to be here, and it's like it's funny that I look at a young person like yourself, and I feel like I'm 60, and I've been doing Turtles for like almost 40 years, and so I appreciate that people still want to talk to me because I've had such a dream and such an awesome life of drawing and all that, comics and stuff. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, totally. I think particularly like as a comic creator myself, and a lot of the guys that take part in our show or watch are independent comic creators. So you're a big hero to loads of us. Can I ask what you're working on just now? Like what?
Absolutely, and I just want to make sure I tip my hat to some of my favorite all-time comics in the world, whether it be what John Wagner's done, or Jamie Hewlett, or Alan Moore, or Simon Bisley, or Alan Grant, Grant Morrison. Man, I've just been a huge fan of, I think, all comics. I like everything from manga to a lot of the French and European comics to certainly a lot of the originality and cleverness and detail and the meat and potatoes that a lot of the writers from Europe, especially the UK in general, put together. Right now, I'm working on a series called The Last Ronin. The Last Ronin is based on a story that Peter and I wrote back in 1987 and never got to finish. We wrote the story set 30 years in the future, which is funny because it would have been set in 2017.
The far future.
Yeah, so isn't it crazy? So by the time then many things transpired, and I had spent the last probably 12 years working on an IDW comic series, a turtle comic series, and my friend Tom Waltz and I we produced basically with IDW 100 issues of the Turtles, and we were sort of looking like, what do we go from here? Where do we go from here as a story? And I said, well, I have this idea from 1987. I'd like to dust it off, rewrite it, and then take it into something we can bring to life. And so we've done. We're finishing up 4 issues, but there's a 5th one that'll wrap it up. But that's been all consuming for about the last 2 years. So it's been fantastic.
That's exciting stuff. It's certainly in preparation. I was trying to get a couple of copies just and it's so hard to get over here. It is. To quote my local comic book shop, the Little Shop of Heroes, it is the comic at the moment. So, just couldn't get a hold of it.
No, that's and that's such a huge compliment, because it's one of those things that when we it was an original idea that we had back in the day, and we sort of revamped it and brought it. And you never know how it's going to land. It's either going to be, because the best part of my job is I've been supported by fans like yourself and fans all over the world, which allow me to live this childhood dream of writing and drawing comics. And so we design a story that we like, and then we hope you like it, or the fans like it. And this was one that right out of the box we were like, well, if it sells okay, then we win. But it was really mind blowing that it's been received as well as it has been received, and we're quite quite humbled, to be honest. It's been such a fantastic, after all these years, it's still doing something that's original and that the fans are supporting is quite special.
Well, like you said, 40 years, almost 40 years. Like you've made a a big dent and a big impact in the lives of so many comic readers and writers and creators. What when you look back in your own back at your career, is there any particular bits that you do nod and smile at and think, that's one of my prouding achievements?
One of the most fantastic and most special moments, and I guess specifically with Turtles, as all Turtles history goes, would be the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, when we had the incredible Steve Barron as a director of the series, and of course Jim Henson, the legendary Jim Henson, making the costumes and bringing it to life. And it was made they produced everything in the Creature Shop in London. If I had to point out to one moment that besides the fact that Peter and I created a comic and we get to draw our comic, and that was our childhood dream, being huge fans of Jack Kirby, so we get to spend our life drawing comic books. But that being the number one highlight, sort of things like the first Turtle movie were one of those things that was just the perfect storm of awesomeness. So
is there, if I flip that question over a wee bit, is there anything that you look back and you go, oh, like why did we say yes to that one?
Well, it's funny because it would be like some of the some stuff that we liked a little bit less than some of the other stuff. Some stuff we liked a little bit more, but it's sort of it goes back to the way I grew up reading comic books. It was things like whether it be Batman or Daredevil or the Avengers or X-Men. There was always different creative people coming in and out and doing their version of those characters. Some you liked a bit more, some you liked a bit less. And so with the Turtles, there were moments that I think it was perfect. It was a perfect storm, like the first Turtle movie, and some of the other things, and some that was just sort of like, kind of missed that one on that one. But luckily we have fairly forgiving fans, and they with high levels of tolerance, I guess. So
that's amazing. I know time's short, and I thanks for coming on. I was going to ask, so our podcast is all about comics and beer.
Yep.
So we just like to get in a circle and chat what we've been reading and what we're drinking. I know that you've done a bit of time in breweries in the past and things like that. What's your go-to beer if you have one?
Well, it's like there's so many, and I joke that there's rarely an alcohol that I've met that I've not liked. I'm quite enamored by it, and have a family history of enjoying the drink. From being a kid and drinking the cheaper stuff and trying not to throw up, to getting all more refined. But some of my favorite memories, I'd say point 1, 2 is my good friend Simon Bisley, who lives in Carterton, and when I would go to London for work, he would come down for a visit, and we'd go, I'd always stay sort of kind of Covent Garden kind of area. Yeah. We'd sort of go up into the middle of the theater district and eat dinner, then we'd hit a pub. We couldn't pass a pub with going in and having a drink, and then we'd see if we could actually make it back to the hotel. A few times we came close to not making it. But no, I'm a big fan of, I like, not like IPAs, I think have a really interesting taste. I actually like a lot of English beer, and certainly Guinness is one of my favorites. Courtney and I get to go to the Guinness factory and have a proper Guinness up at the top of the place. And that was fantastic. Black and tan lagers. It's I'm not very picky, but there's but I like the quality stuff, and I like the things with a bit more body and a bit heaviness to it, that you sip and you can sort of hang out and drink it before it gets too warm, because you have to finish it before it gets too warm, so that you can get another one.
Amazing.
But other than beer, I think my favorite is I rekindled my love affair with all things whiskey, especially Tullamore Dew. The last time we went to Dublin and up into Northern Ireland, man, that's one of my Writer's Tears, Tullamore Dew. That's it makes me want to have a drink right now.
Oh, sorry. I think it's about dinner time at yours, isn't it? You can. Yeah, is that on the cards?
Yeah, no, it's like, it's funny is that, yeah, so we're heading towards dinner time, so it's like so usually we'll, my wife and I will cook together a lot of times, and then we'll have a glass of wine with dinner. Then I always like a nice whiskey or something later on. But as a regular, if you're drinking in the afternoons, I like beer. I like heavy beers.
Incredible. All right, so I think. I don't know. I could talk to you for like as long as you can give me, but I know time is short. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Absolutely, no, and I know it's like, yeah, when we schedule some of the press junket stuff, it's always fun. I like to talk to a lot of different people because it really is like, especially in the year or two that it's been, we've not been able to go out to shows and meet people in person, which is something we always liked so very, very much. So I like doing these so we can still talk to fans. But I'd be the same. My wife usually will, at some point, she'll start banging on the door and goes, "You're talking too much." Because I do.
No such thing, right? Your thing.
So
have you got any shows coming up? Have you got anything that you can?
We actually just started booking shows for 2022, and because it's even here in the States, there's still, with the Delta variant, there's still questionable things that we worry about. We've been vaccinated, us and our son and stuff, but we, just to be safe, but we don't want to be in a situation where we might infect somebody else. You know what I mean? Like carry it on to. So, but we'll have a proper schedule for next year soon, and it'll be up. If you go to KevinEastmanStudios.com, it's our main website, our fan site, and you can sort of see where we're going and what we're doing there. So.
Excellent. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to meet you. I hope to speak to you again.
Thank you. Pleasure talking to you. So let's talk again. We'll have a beer next time.
Absolutely.
We'll actually have a beer and we can.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That would be incredible. Cool. Speak to you soon.
Nice talking with you.
I'll just unmute you. I have to unmute you separately, guys. Apologies.
That was awesome.
That was all right. I think.
What a pleasant guy. What a really, really pleasant guy.
Definitely.
It was midnight when I because of time difference. So
on a Thursday night as well.
On a Thursday night. So I'd done the podcast with you guys, and then had to stay up to interview him. So I was knackered, and I don't know. Like, there's that old saying, "Don't meet your heroes" and stuff like that. But I don't really know what I was expecting. But yeah, just a total solid dude. Like, just somebody that was really. It was like chatting to a mate. It was just really nice. And I haven't been calling yet. Talking about mates.
I listened to him speak there, and it's like I think that's a new hero for me, because I've listened to comic creators in the past, talking, guys like Alan Moore and Neil Gaiman and stuff like this, and they always seem aware of their brilliance or aware of what they've done and things like this. Neil Gaiman comes across as a thoroughly nice guy, but he knows he's the smartest person in the room when he's talking and things like this. He seemed like just such a down-to-earth, normal, go to the pub and have a drink with that guy and stuff like that.
The kind of guy you could sit and have a beer with.
Yeah, I've got a new hero.
You should really hold him to that and try and get him back for the beer. Maybe the 100.
I'll try. I couldn't quite believe just how the fact that I can't thank him enough for joining us and having a wee chat. It's just really. I remember when we had Dave McKean on. It was very similar when he's chatting about working with Jim Henson, and you're like, oh my god, like, that's so cool. And for him, it was just somebody else that he met, But I generally got the impression from speaking to Kevin that he would just be as excited of working with these guys, and probably we would be if the same opportunities came up to us. No, it was just really, really nice to speak to, and total personal hero. And I was totally blown away by, obviously, when you start chatting about British comic creators and stuff. Like, it's comics, and I knew that about Kevin Eastman anyway, but his comics knowledge is really on point anyway. But obviously, the first name he comes out with is John Wagner. You're like, oh my goodness! I wonder if John Wagner knew that.
Well,
You know,
he's a regular watcher, so I'm sure he knows now. So.
well, it's
Hi, John.
like just if you were able to get a hold of him and say, like, we interviewed the co-creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and he listed, I think, 8 British comic creators off the top of his head, and you were number 1. You were just the first name that came out of his. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. before Alan Moore, before Grant Morrison, before John Wagner. Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah, totally.
Really cool.
I think despite what they might have achieved, John Wagner probably affected all of us more. I think we all grew up on 2000 AD and John Wagner's work. So
I certainly see when it comes to the Turtles, right? I was of the age group where not so much the comics, more the cartoon, but the cartoon was huge when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So much so that we couldn't get the toys. Right, we couldn't get the toys here in the country. And I remember my pal, who was actually the best man at my wedding, his mum was going to the States, and my mum asked his mum to get her as much Turtle stuff as she could possibly get for Christmas because they couldn't get any stuff here. So, the Turtles for me was huge. And I remember the first, they mentioned this as well, that the Turtles movie, the first Turtles movie is even now still one of my all-time favorite movies because I think
it's up there as one of the best superhero movies ever. It's so good.
The first one is amazing.
The first one is amazing. It's a product of its time.
Sorry, did anyone else get the impression that he particularly liked those early foam costume ones, and maybe wasn't so keen on the current CGI?
See the second Turtles, the Secret of the Ooze, and the third Turtles, the Time one, whatever. All the Turtles began to look the same because it was all aesthetics. They were. They knew what Turtles sold.
Turtles 3, it wasn't Turtles 1 and 2 were Henson. Jim Henson creations. Turtles 3, they weren't, and you notice a dip in between Turtles 2 and 3.
Right.
Even like the big, it was still Jim Henson in number 2, like the big Super Shredder at the end of Turtles 2. I don't really like Turtles 2 as a movie, but that Super Shredder model at the end is incredible, and that was all Jim Henson work.
It was funniest as well. I think the humour in the first one, and it became a bit more serious as the series kind of went on.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is that they weren't allowed to use their weaponry in the second movie because the first one was deemed too violent. So there was all these kids.
So they would pull the weapons out, but they wouldn't really use them as such.
Yeah.
Whereas the first one, they were kind of going for it to a certain extent. I mean, Raphael in the first one gets absolutely annihilated.
He does. He gets brutalized.
That's just a great scene. That whole scene is just absolutely fantastic. And then they're in the shop afterwards, they fall to the floor, and they're doing the nunchucks. Oh, fellow nunchucker, eh?
That's one where he does the, how do you guys think you're ever going to beat me? And then there's 48 of them or something like that. It's like, oh, good answer. Good answer.
Good answer. And Casey Jones as well in that one. You're just
he's great.
Man, he's still one of my favourite all-time superheroes, Casey Jones.
Well, they took him out in the second one because he was deemed like... So I did loads of research for the interview, but they took him out of Turtles 2 because he was using, obviously the whole Casey Jones thing is he uses sports equipment as his weaponry, and the parent groups were worried that him beating up guys with hockey sticks would
encourage their kids.
Would encourage kids to do it. But then he shows up for the third one, but then he doesn't use any of his weaponry. He gets brought in as a babysitter.
That's right.
It's probably the only good bit about Turtles 3 is when he's in the arcade where the Japanese soldiers and they don't want to go back because they're playing pinball. And
see, to be fair, by the end of Turtles 1, I found myself a golf bag and I filled it full of hockey sticks, baseball bats, and golf clubs.
We're the right age.
Walking down the street, I was about 10 years old. With this in my back, so yeah, I can understand why. I
was digging because I've read some bits and pieces, and I think the low point of the whole Turtle franchise is often recognised as when Saban, the creators of the Power Rangers, they bought the rights and did a live action series in the late 90s.
I don't remember that.
Oh, it's horrendous. You don't just ignore what I just said. Like, let's remove the last minute from. It's awful, and I wanted to hear him say it. I really like the CGI Turtles movie. There was one that came out, I want to say 2007, 2008. It's on Netflix. You should totally check it out. It's a full CGI movie. and then the other two movies aren't very good.
Probably have watched it, actually. I can't remember it, but
It's good.
the latest two Turtle movies that have been out pretty recently, they're okay, but they're just, I don't know,
They're Michael
like
Bay
Transformer.
movies. You know,
Aye,
they're just
Michael
basically
Bay,
Michael
that's
Bay
it.
movies.
Yeah.
You know,
I thought it was like this could be a Transformer film, like the tone and it's just he's got the turtles to work with. But that was an amazing interview, and I'm really glad that Eastman's back in the fray with the writing. He wasn't involved in the Turtles for quite a long time, but he is obviously on him and Peter Laird are working on the Last Ronin. And
this Last Ronin story has been gone absolutely crazy. I've got a couple of number ones away at the moment to CGC to be CGC graded. It sold through the roof, and I think it's on fourth printing, number one, and every other one has been printed multiple times.
I couldn't find number one. Two and three were in Glasgow last week when I was there, but I wanted one, so I might try and buy one of those CDCs off you.
CGC, yeah. They're not back yet, so see what grade they come back as. Yes, it's a great idea. You know what it's sort of about, or
what's that, sorry?
You know what it's about, or
yeah, I've got
So there's only one of them left at this point, but they didn't. Certainly in the first episode or issue or two, they didn't implicitly say which one it is, and because it's gone back to old school, where they all look the same, you're not sure.
Well, they reveal that in the first issue.
Did they?
Aye, they reveal who the turtle is. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, right?
That's awesome. I think it through it and then sent it away, and I was like, oh.
No. They reveal it in the first issue, which I think is really good, actually. The first issue is fantastic. Second and third have been great. I can't wait for the fourth and fifth. Honestly, God, it's definitely my highlight of mainstream comics this year. I've not read a lot of mainstream comics, to be fair, recently, but it's definitely really, really good. I've really enjoyed it.
I've got my highlight ready to talk about when we actually get down to.
I'll fire through some comments in, and then we can move on to talking about comics. Sue was asking what about 80 shillings. The interview wasn't live. I recorded it at like silly o'clock last week, Sue. So I would hope that Kevin Eastman likes an 80 shilling, and if we ever grab him for a beer in real life, I'll make sure he can. I will make sure he gets the cool 80s revival is the best 80 shilling going. So
he talked about liking heavier beers. I think he didn't actually come out and say it, but there was a disparaging. I didn't go out to drink fizzy lager-ness about what he said. I think he was talking about proper beers. Sorry, David.
Sorry, what was the 80 shilling we had in the Brugger's night out?
Yeah, that was the 80s revival. It was
the revival.
Lovely.
That's
who was it again? The Bruiser?
Cool Brew.
Cool Brew. Yes, that's it. That was one of the best beers I've ever drank. To be honest, I couldn't believe how good that 80 shilling was.
I think it was our I think Topaz was our beer of the year that year, but Colin made a big case for 80s revival, so I think we said that was like number 2. If memory serves right, yeah, it's a great beer.
Lovely.
Just for fans here, some of the Stuart Sutherland was saying a nice bloke in reference to that, and Glenn was saying a great interview, what a good bloke, and Stuart again was saying we're hoping to get Stuart on in a couple of weeks. I think I'll be chatting to Stuart.
Horrified me too, Stuart.
But yeah, that I remember being about 4. I think I was about 4 when I saw the first Turtles movie. And I was really upset at Raphael being up because he's my favourite. But I also remember, it's probably one of my earliest memories, like openly freaking out when the first Shredder reveal. When like he comes and his really grumpy henchman takes off he takes the hood down so that you can see all his blades and stuff. He was just so scary.
Because I was into these things, did the movie come after or before the cartoon?
After.
Right. So maybe a lot of kids would have had the cartoon as their experience of Turtles.
The first film takes quite a few beats from the first issues of the comic. So I think that was a big criticism of the film, which is funny because the film is probably, as you get older, the more endearing. As a big Turtle fan, I think of the first run of comics and the first movie are my kind of highlights of the whole series. But the cartoon was the cartoon was part of that 80s scene where they they wanted to sell toys. So
Aye.
things like
Big advert.
giving them different bandana colors and giving them their number, their initials on their belt. That was all just to differentiate for toys. Whereas obviously in the comics, they were all the same color, and then the film tried to blend the two. But I imagine, that must have been mental if you were like a wee boy or a wee girl, and your parents took you to the live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle film that was based on the cartoon that you were watching, and then that's what you got in 1990.
I remember we got it as a pirate video VHS. One of my friends watched it, and we all gathered around, the house, and then in the middle of the afternoon, we put this VHS in, sat and watched it, and I can remember being a kid just going like this was not because I'd never read any of the comics and stuff, so this is not the cartoon that I was expecting. And I remember looking at it, watching it, going, I'm really loving this, but also thinking this isn't the same as the cartoon. So I was really disappointed, but also probably more so like this is better. I was like 10. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh man, what's happening? What's this I'm experiencing? What emotions am I feeling right now? And it was just it just blew me away. And like today, like I say, even today, it's just excellent.
Agreed, man. Agreed. Right, well, we've got about 20 minutes where we fire through our comics of the week and what's people reading. Colin, what have you been reading?
Okay, so David and I were in Glasgow last week, and we had a trail around, and we found that Forbidden Planet's, their old store in Buchanan Street, is their kind of sale store for the UK. And up until that day, they'd had a 50% sale, but on the day that we arrived, it was 75% off. So I think we both walked away with a stack of books. And one of the ones that I picked up was this one here, which is World of Tanks Rollout. So, okay, true to form, I'll go and pick a war comic. So if you're not familiar with it, World of Tanks is actually a video game. It's a massive multiplayer tank game. Apparently, it's quite complicated. I've never played it myself, but it's quite complicated in that you can level up your tank and buy parts and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, I saw this. It looked fairly interesting, but even more interesting was when I started to look at who had written it and who had drawn it. So Garth Ennis is the writer, and Garth is well known, obviously for things like Preacher and stuff. But he's really well known for doing these war comics, and he loves doing war comics. I've seen an interview with him specifically about writing war comics, and he loves doing that. That's the thing that he lives to do. All the other stuff pays the bills, but he does war comics. So he's done this one, which is about two tank squads, a British one and a German one, and it's few weeks after D-Day, and the tanks are starting to move in. So you see the kind of story from both sides, and obviously there is a clash between the two later on in the story. So this was originally a series back in 2017. Issues 1 to 3, I think, or maybe 1 and 2, were drawn by Carlos Esquera, so well known for things like
totally.
Stone Dog in 2000 AD, and then the latter issues were by P.J. Holden, also a name that folk will know from 2000 AD. And I'm guessing that's because that was when Carlos passed away. So he passed away kind of mid-season of that, and PJ's taken over. So it's got naff all to do with the video game that's on the title, that's got the big title there. It's published by Dark Horse, and it's also co-published by wargaming.net. So clearly it was, kind of a book to kind of capitalise perhaps a little bit or draw in some of the audience from video games. Whether it did or not, I don't know. I'd certainly never heard of it before until I saw it on the shelves. And I probably would have passed it by if it hadn't been for the calibre of writers and artists. And I have to say it's really good. It's an excellent story, as you would expect from Garth Ennis. Very visceral kind of retelling of kind of a war story. Lots of swearing in it, which you would expect again in a Garth Ennis story. It's not the kind of thing that would be in your 70s or 80s, battle or warlord. It's much more hard hitting stuff. I highly recommend it. It was brilliant, and for getting it for £2 or £3 or something from Forbidden Planet sale was amazing. So, well worth picking up if you like your war stories, if you like Commando, if you like Warlord, if you like Battle, that kind of thing, or have read any Garth Ennis's other books, his war story stuff. Fantastic, really good storytelling.
That does sound amazing, man. Like, I probably would have, because I know the World of War. I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, and that World of War tanks comes up quite a lot as like in adverts. There's one, and I think there's a Battleships Gate version of it as well. And it's like, I think it strikes me. I don't know much about the game, so straight me down the wrong. But there's all pay to play aspect and all that kind of stuff. Like, you can play it for free, but then if you want to be quite good at it, you need to spend money to make your tanks better and stuff. So I've kind of shied away from it, despite how good the adverts look. And I probably wouldn't have read the comic because I would have thought it was a cheap cash-in.
Yeah.
So the fact that you've read it, it's really good. It's pretty awesome.
You could take that off, that World of Tanks off there. You've got a really good, strong story there with really superb artwork. It's just a shame that it seems to maybe have been a bit of a try at a cash-in. But yeah, it's a great story. And when I tweeted, sorry, Andrew.
Sorry, Colin. On you go. I thought you were finished.
I did tweet about it. I tweeted a picture of it yesterday, I think, saying that I'm reading this book, which is a tie-in with the World of Tanks game, and then I got a tweet back from it, or a reply from PJ Holden saying, "Yeah, but it's Garth Ennis just writing a good tank story," which is true. Which is true. It's got virtually nothing to do with the video game.
Which probably that's a shame. And I imagine it was a relatively well-paid job in terms of like comic writing. I would have thought, like, for Garth Ennis to be involved in that with his back.
Like Colin said about war stories. I mean, he's well known for writing very good adult war stories. He's got a few. There's a few volumes of the war stories out now, isn't there?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Garth Ennis's war stories are.
Yeah, and he's done Dreaming Eagles about the Tuskegee Airmen and United States Black Air Squadron, and
so
loads
it
of
would have been a
no-brainer
to Ken who we're going to get to write this. Who's the biggest name and one of the biggest names in comics at the moment, especially in 2017 when The Boys or Preacher was just out.
Yeah, I was saying The Boys.
And he's also famous for doing that sort of thing. So yeah, no-brainer. I don't mind them trying to thing in as well, because it is a free-to-play game. They've got to monetize it somehow, or the game will only be there. And I know a lot of people who play, loads of hours of it. So Douglas Hamilton obviously plays it.
He's saying that the Warships one's really good. It's not bad and free to play. I suppose if he can play free to play games, like, it saves him having to get his way into Dunfermline and have to pay me £2 to play Blood Bowl.
Douglas, I happen to know for a fact that Douglas Hamilton has the biggest Steam library of anybody I know in the world. Like, he gave me about 23 games a couple of years ago because he buys the Humble Bundles, and these ones had games that he already had. So he gave me like 23 keys for games a couple of years ago.
Those Humble Bundles are amazing. Some of them, like, they do them for comics as well, don't they?
Yeah.
And they did a Rebellion one last year that was absolutely outstanding.
Douglas had to respond right. Yeah, they do. Like, some of them are brilliant. I use them a lot for Steam games and things like this, but the comics ones, I think I got a big stack for my son. He's doing computer games design, and they do educational ones as well. So they did, dozens of books on, and you'll know more about this, Colin, than me. What do they call them? Assets. They do ones for assets for whatever your thing is. So yeah, Humble Bundle's brilliant.
So David, what have you been reading in sort of like while we're talking about?
So I've been reading a few things. The start of the week, yesterday, I should say, actually, I was like, what have I read this week? I'm not too sure what we talk about tomorrow. And it wasn't until I came on and spoke to you just 10 minutes before that I realised I'd read a reasonable amount. So I'm not too sure what to talk about, but I think I'll talk about this. So Cain and Abel, by Shaky Kane and Krent Abel, I believe it is. Now, this comic randomly popped up. I was in the new Forbidden Planet store with Colin, and I just seen this, and I had no idea why this popped into my head, and I mentioned it last week on the podcast.
Yeah, you did.
And it turns out that Edward Bentley, who has got a Kickstarter running right now, Dark Boy and Adler, which is great, by the way. I've got the first 2 issues. I've backed the third issue. I've been talking to him text message on Messenger, and he had mentioned this guy's name. And so when I seen it in Forbidden Planet, I was like, I recognise this. So I picked it up in the new store, and it's awesome. And it's the first time I've ever read anything by Shaky Kane, but apparently it's a pretty big deal. He's English, I'm sure. In fact, he's definitely lives down there anyway, because Edward Bentley, the guy who put me on to him, he is meeting him for drinks later on, so I'm assuming that he's obviously from down south. And it's just really good. This was printed, I think, very recently, maybe 2017, maybe even 2020 actually. I think it's really, really recent, and the artwork is amazing. It's really good. The astonishing shield bug, and if you look down the bottom here, on the other hand, there he is. He is driving in his car with his mask on, and it's just, this kind of stuff is just excellent. And the opening line is, "The weather broke as I headed back across town, heading east past billboards and boarded up shop fronts. I wondered if Kane still burnt the midnight oil, or like me, had given up the ghost." And it's that style of writing that I just love. That kind of pulpy, kind of, the dark detective kind of idea that I just think is fantastic. And the whole book is like that. It's a few different storylines. There's a lot of mad stuff going on. If I find you this image, here's the image I'm looking for here. So look at that image there. I mean, that is a baby doll chopping with a chainsaw, chopping up a guy's hand, basically. And here is a bear that was set on fire.
All in one panel.
All in one
just
panel.
Amazing.
Right? I mean, actually, if you look at this one here is the actual bear on fire, if you can see him there. And he's shouting yes. I mean, so it's full of this madness that is awesome. I mean, the front cover just stands out. I mean, look at that. Maybe it's just me, I don't know, but I find this kind of stuff awesome. And I would really recommend this. I'm certainly going to check out more of Shaky Kane and more available. He talks a lot about being in a Comic-Con and being a comic book artist, and he's, I'm assuming this is Shaky Kane right here. He's got a vape pen there, if you can see. He's got a vape pen there as well. And he's generally talking about, sitting in a comic book convention and just talking to all these people, and it's just an excellent comic, and it's written so well, and the illustrations back up, and it's just great. I'm really going to check more of this guy out, and it's fantastic. This cost me £11 from New Forbidden Planet. Boom.
Is it kind of like the Hunter S. Thompson stuff? You were talking about it not being there not being any kind of like sort of linear, nothing really happened without.
There's not really a major storyline. There's lots of stuff happening, nothing really going on. That's maybe not. I'm maybe not being articulate enough with my description of it, but it's just. I mean, I read it in one sitting while talking to my missus, and I just kept going back to it, and I just kept on reading it, and it's something I'll pick up again and read again. So, for me, if you get a comic book that you're going to read more than once, then you've got a good comic book, and I'm definitely going to read this again. So yeah, Shaky Kane and Krent Abel, Kane and Abel, give it a shot. Really, really good. Image Comics publisher. I'll just do quickly as well, if that's all right. Mm-hmm. Forbidden Planet Glasgow, the original one, 3 floppies for £1. This was in one of the packs I picked up. Soviet. Didn't know what it was. The Punisher, love the Punisher. Opening scene. The Punisher's basically shooting people in the heads.
Is that the Garth Ennis run as well?
Yes, sorry, it is.
That was the kind of Punisher Max run that they were doing by Garth Ennis. He did the best Punisher runs.
I'm not read any Garth Ennis for the Punisher. I've read lots of Garth Ennis stuff, like Preacher, obviously, Hellblazer. I've got all that run. I'm going to have to pick up the Garth Ennis Punisher stuff because
he did a Max run of about, I think I'm going to say about 30 issues. I think it was about 6 trades, and it's quite simply the best Punisher stories you'll ever read.
This is the number 5, I think, of 5, if that makes sense. I think it's number 5. I can't find the thingy, but so it's basically the last one, and it's just it just opens, and you're just like, wow, this is insane, and it finishes. You're like, I want to know more. I want to know what happened. I want to know what the start of this, the middle of this, and obviously I know the end. Really, really good.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It sounds like you've had a good week in terms of. It's nice when you have a good week. Sometimes you might read loads of comics and be like, "Oh, that was all right, but nothing special." And then every so often you have a week that you're like, "Oh my goodness, that's amazing!" Like everything you read's really banging. So that's cool. What have you got to share, Andrew?
I've got a wee run today of. This is a comic that I bought the first one in a few months ago and said this is going to be the biggest comic of the year. Before Ronin came in and became the biggest comic of the year, and Something Is Killing the Children came in and became the next biggest comic of the year. But I'm telling you now, this is going to be the 3rd biggest comic of this year. So I brought in the special editions for you to have a look at, and it's a comic called Stray Dogs. Right?
Oh yeah.
I
love that cover. It's very.
These are the kind of
not the Fly. Sorry, the Thing, isn't it?
It's the Thing. These are the movie variant covers. So issue 1 movie variant was the Thing. Let's see if you can guess the next one. The issue 2 variant cover.
Evil Dead.
Evil Dead 2, was it?
I think it's Evil Dead 2. Yeah. Dead by
You'll never
Dawn.
get this one. This one's too modern for you. You'll never get this one.
Oh, that's Midsummer.
Yeah.
Here, there's Jeff.
Yeah, well done. So these are.
I'm not gonna lie, I haven't seen Midsummer yet, but I've got a friend who tells me it's really horrific, but also really amazing.
I've not actually seen it either yet, but which one you have a look at? Like, say this Disney-esque, and it really isn't a Disney-esque story. It's these dogs have all been kidnapped by a guy who's possibly killed their previous owners. And on the back of them as well have got the great, like, the dogs sitting waiting for their owners and stuff like this.
That's
horrendous. As I say, I would have put my money on this was going to be the biggest comic of the year, but it's been a year of very big comics. But this has been my absolute favourite run of the year, without a doubt. The trade will be out probably in a couple of months. I think 4's out now, 5 and 6 will come in the next 2 months, and then the trade will be out very, very quickly. And then you might see it picked up as an animation. That would not surprise me at all. So
that sounds absolutely. I bet it's amazing, but at the same time, it sounds like you would just greet your whole way through it.
Well, all the dog characters are just I don't want to give too much away.
Fair enough.
And I'm only halfway through the story as well.
With dog characters, did Garth Ennis not do a book on dogs that you love?
Yeah. Well, funny you should mention that. I don't think I've ever mentioned it before, but yeah. He did a run called Rover Red Charlie.
That's it.
About 3 dogs surviving the apocalypse, and the dogs are called Rover, Red, and Charlie. And it's an and some of the evil, like their evil enemies are cats who are dastardly, like, smart, and the dogs are mostly thick. It's brilliant. Garth Ennis, we've spoken about Garth Ennis a couple of times now. Garth Ennis just keeps on coming in there. With War Stories, with his Punisher, Rover Red Charlie. Garth Ennis is one of my guys in comics.
We'll have to get one.
Yeah. That was talking about we 3,
Yeah.
Get Garth Ennis on me. Honestly, I'll interview.
Right, man.
Yeah, man. I'll see.
Jeff.
I'll put in. I'll send an interview. I've got a couple of folk that I'm bouncing emails back and forth with. If any of you want to take on an interview, you can.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Glenn Fabry is usually available as well. Glenn Fabry, who used to do a lot of his covers.
Yes,
he's from Northern Ireland, and he does a lot of conventions and stuff like this. I'm sure you'll be able to.
I'll do the email block again and see who we can get a hold of.
Listen, Jeff, if you ever need someone to take on, I'll do it, man.
You Cardenas?
Anyone?
Douglas is saying we three. Is that is we three another Ennis?
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. It's pretty well known.
Jeff, what have you been reading?
Skype.
I'm just referring to it. I had Colin over the other day. Colin came in and had a coffee with me, as he sometimes does, like once or twice a fortnight. He just messages me and he's like, "Kettle on. Have you got this? No? Okay, we'll put the kettle on." And then he pops in. He gave me the Action Annual 2020.
Is that a shark on the front cover? That's going to be useful, isn't it?
Yeah, there is a shark on the front. I'm glad you picked up on that. I'll as you know, I'm a fan of this.
How long have you had that up your sleeve?
What the fuck is that?
So yeah, Hookjaw's on the front cover, and I love the Hookjaw cover.
Oh, didn't we're already over the hour.
So Colin led with this. It's really, really good. It's full of some really awesome stories. Ram V does the script for a story called Kids Rule OK, which was originally created by Chris Lauder and Mike White. There's a Dredger story in here that obviously it's Pat Mills' creation, but it's not Pat Mills that wrote it. A really amazing story called Hell Machine, which was created by Henry Flint. I thought that was incredible, about a totalitarian government that like systematically murder the public using a machine called the Hell Machine. Just really, really smart. And then obviously there's a Hookjaw story in here as well. Hookjaw is a near mythical shark that has a hook in his jaw, and it's like Jaws on acid. It's great. But I did want to point it very, very quickly. I know we're over the hour, so I apologize for that. I've got quite a lot of the Action Annuals. I haven't gone through them yet, but there was a Hellman story in here. I mean, Colin were talking about this just before we went to air. Hellman's I imagine when Action was out in the 70s, it was much more progressive than it is now. But Hellman's it's a German tank commander who fought in Russia during the initial expanse by the Germans into Russia during and he was involved in the Blitzkrieg quite heavily. But then I've not got that much far into his personal history yet. But there seems to have been a moment for him and his tank crew where they realised that they were the baddies essentially, and so they now the story, the comic revolves around them going around like Nazi-held territory and murdering Nazis. It's like the whole, and it's just really, really cool. I just really, really enjoyed it. The story in this comic is about a young family who are at the end of World War II are trying to get away. They're worried that if the Russians come, they'll be treated really, really badly. So it's a young family that are trying to escape to the West so that they can surrender themselves to the Americans. And then and their car breaks down, and it's this German tank commander that finds them, and so he's trying to shoot at approaching Russians as one of his deputies tries to fix the car. And it's cool. It was just a really cool story. I really enjoyed it, and I'm going to pick up more of that particular character. It was really good. I don't want to go too much into it, but I did want to mention, me and Dave were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Feral and Foe is a strip that's running in 2000 AD about it's set in like a fantasy world, but it's just really, really funny, and everyone talks to each other as if like they're mates at the pub, and it's just a really, really funny story. Written by Dan Abnett, and I hadn't realised that when we were talking about that before. Dan Abnett's one of my favourite writers ever, and I'm not surprised that the writing on Feral and Foe is so good. When I realised that, I was like, oh, it's absolutely no surprise then that this is one of my favorite things in 2000 AD. So everyone should check it out. That's it.
Most definitely.
Great.
Cool.
Can I do a shameless plug?
Yes, shamelessly plug away.
Glass City Comics Volume 2 of The Story of a Missing Girl is due to launch on the 10th of August. If any of you guys are willing or up for backing it, please jump onto the pre-launch page, click on that to be notified of launch, and we go live on the 10th of August.
Awesome. Cool.
Woohoo.
Andrew, have you got a shameless plug?
I'm not, but I will say you can get Glass City. You can get David's comic #1 in your friendly local comic shop now in Kirkcaldy, and I'm fairly sure issue 2 will be there shortly after printing as well.
Colin, do you have any plugging to do?
I have no plugging to do, but Jeff, when you do go into our local comic shop and pick up your pool list, there's a surprise in there for you. It's been paid for.
Oh, no!
Can I just say, Colin,
I'm excited.
I saw your picture as well that you did for the charity thing last week. That was phenomenal. Did you hand draw that onto that thing?
Yes, I did.
Size?
Yes, so I spent a day with it hung up on my curtain rail in darkness to go in this huge Where's Wally style picture for the.
It looked brilliant, mate. It really did.
I'm going to see a picture of it.
Hundreds of folk came along and coloured it in over the course of the day. It was great, and I got a nice hunt while I was outdoors.
Okay. Did you do it out in that wee bit of the park sort of thing opposite it? Did you?
Across the road, yeah.
Yeah, it looked absolutely brilliant and raised a lot of money for charity.
Yeah, absolutely. I loads for the schools charity.
There we are.
Oh,
yeah. Apologies for the it's literally just straight off. I can press this one, kind of. There you go.
Yeah, so it's just a big canvas, and spent the day drawing. It's meant to be done for my Comic Con, so there's like hundreds of people in it and loads of characters, and I just did the outlines and folk come along and coloured them in. So it was great fun doing that. Loads of folk came along from the ages of 2 to 70.
That's it. I've read that. That's amazing. He's actually listed every single person that attended. The list was huge.
And
the ages.
Yeah, and
so
ages,
respect to the lady that done that, the person that done that. Brilliant.
Hopefully we'll be able to get it up somewhere, get it in a frame or something and displayed somewhere. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Cool.
Big frame.
Aye, big frame. It's definitely who's got it right now, Colin?
It's in the local comic shop.
Right.
Yeah, no, great job. Stuart saying that was a good job as well, Colin. Yeah, that was really smart. I think we always talk about, and I know Andrew's, I know Kingdom Comics is the same. We always talk about comic shops being a community, and being a focal point in the community. And I think like when you see stuff like that, you're like that's what it is. Like that just represents everything that you would want from like a comic book shop community. I think it's that kind of those kind of activities. Folk just coming along and totally enjoying themselves, and then paying for stuff and putting them in my drawer. I'm excited now. I'll have to go up tomorrow and get my pull lists. Maybe. I'm
excited too.
Excited for my pull list. I think I've got like 3 2000 ADs to back up anyway. It's all good. I don't have any shameless plugs. If you back my comic, you'll be getting it on Sunday, hopefully.
Yes.
In PDF form. And then physical well, printing will go off on Sunday as well. So you'll so a couple of weeks maybe it'll be in your door. If you live in central Scotland, you might even have me at your door giving it to you, which is pretty cool. So, cool. Join us. Thanks for having us in your ears and on your screen and all that sort of stuff. Next week, I think we've got Kyler Merrill. He joined us this time last year to chat about comic projects he had up and running. So he's just he dropped us a message in the week and asked us if we could pop in and say hi and stuff. So if anyone wants to do that, it's totally fine. Also, I think the week after we have our friends at the 77 joining us again. So we should have Banksy in, and
Wow.
usually when you've got him in, hilarity ensues, and you have just randoms jumping in as well. So
Cool.
it's interesting.
Lord.
It's always quite exciting when you
So that
join
may be a
us.
slightly longer podcast then.
Yeah, that probably will be, because you have to give.
Let's hope to God I'm not working the following morning, because
Well, you have to give Mr. 77 his time, eh? Ben doesn't operate in the same realms of time and space
You know
that we
what?
do.
I've read a few issues. I've read a few issues of 77, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. So
Oh no, he's
Awesome.
he's an absolutely amazing dude and an amazing host as well, amazing guest as well. So I'm looking forward to that one. And we've got.
But I missed that one.
Oh, you're not going to be there for that one?
I'm going to be away from home that day.
No, we'll work out. I might move it now.
Jeff, email me the information, and I will brush up on my knowledge of it. I'll try to anyway.
Awesome, cool, right, guys. Right, cool. We'll see everyone next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye. 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 Bye.